Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, my name is Amit Ajmani and today we will be studying about the graphical representation of motion chapter, right? Now, whenever we want to convey any particular type of information, we always see that the graphical representation comes very handy as it is easily understandable and it's quite simple. So, let us see how we are going to represent a few data and information in graph in particular chapter motion. Now, when we are talking about graphs, the first type of graph that we will be forming is in this particular chapter, we will be looking at the graphical representation. We will be forming the graphs to convey the information. The first type of graphs that we will be forming will be distance and time graphs. Now, students, you all know that whenever we are plotting a graph, we know that we normally plot a graph using these two axes. This is x axis, this is y axis. Right? What we do is we will take the time in the x axis and we will see whether the time is given in seconds or minutes or hours depending upon the question, and we will take the distance on the y axis, right. So, the distance can also be in meters or in kilometers depending upon the question. So, these distance time graphs are also known as ST graphs. S we know stands for distance and T stands for time. So, we will be studying about distance time graph, right. First of all, we will assume a few things. Let us start the value from this 0 point. When we are talking about distance, let us say this is the distance is in meters, time is in seconds. 10 meters, I will take 20 meters, I will take 30 meters, I will take 40 meters, I will take 50 meters. Time I will take to be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds and 25 seconds. We will be given a few informative data, that is a body travels this much distance in this much time. Accordingly, we will plot a graph, right. So, this will be our distance time graph that we will be plotting. There are a few things which you need to remember. Fine. When we plot a distance time graph, in that case we get a few options. What are the various options? First thing is, along with time, if there is a uniformity in the motion of a particular object, then in that case, in this distance time graph, let us see here again, this is y axis distance, this is time. Whenever there is a uniformity in the motion of the object, that means in equal interval of time, the object is covering equal intervals of distances and the body is in uniform motion or travelling with a uniform speed, then always we will have a straight line on this ST graph. So, whenever there is a straight line in the ST or the distance time graph, we say that this graph represents a uniform motion or the uniform speed of the object. Got it? Second option that we may have is that an object is basically moving with a non-uniform motion. That means it is covering distances, but the uniformity is, the consistency is not there. So, in that case we will get a curve like this. So, whenever there is a curve, right, this represents that it is a non-uniform motion, right, or this is non-uniform speed of the object. So, there will be either a straight line or a curve, right? So, we need to know the significance of these two graphs. Now, very importantly, if I get a graph like this, right, ST graph it is. First of all, students, we always, whenever we observe a graph, we always need to see what exactly is the displayed information looking at the x-axis and the y-axis as to what graph it is. So, first of all, we need to carefully see that, we need to confirm that it is a distance time graph that we are talking about. Why? Because after 10 minutes you will be able to relate well, because after this topic I will tell you that there are speed or velocity time graphs also, right, which convey an altogether different representation. So, we need to make sure what graph it is. It is a distance time graph that we are talking about right now. If we have a parallel line to the x-axis in a distance time graph, now what does this information mean? Right. For example, the distance was 10, 20 and 30. An object has covered a distance of 30 meters. Then the time is increasing, but the distance is not increasing. That means, with the passage of time, the object is not covering any further distance. This particular graph shows that now the body is actually at rest, or the body is actually stationary. At this point in time, when we see this graph, we see that no further distance has been covered by the object or the body with the passage of time. After 5 seconds when we saw, the distance was 30. After 10 seconds when we saw, distance was again 30. 15 seconds, distance was again 30. 20 seconds, again 30. 25 seconds, again 30. Time is passing on, but the object is not covering any distance. That means, at the moment the object is not moving, it is stationary. Fine. So, these are the three things that can be the information that can be drawn from the graphs. And what are the graphs? These are distance time graphs that we are talking here, right? Either uniform motion or uniform speed, non-uniform motion or non-uniform speed, or no motion at all. A straight line, a curve or a non-straight line, and a line parallel to the right x-axis. Now, we cannot have any type of graph a line parallel to y-axis, because we cannot stop the time. It can never happen that the time is stopped there and then only, and the object is moving and covering some distance. It is not possible. So, a line parallel to y-axis in a distance time graph is not possible. Got it? So, these are the first type of graphs that we need to study.